I'm not sure why I haven't talked about this yet, because honestly, this is probably going to be a really exciting film. F1, starring Brad Pitt, they have done something revolutionary as far as like new camera technology to make this film. So let's go ahead and watch this quick featurette, and then I'm gonna dive into some of the details here.
You can talk about speed, but we wanted to make audiences feel it. The camera technology we developed for Maverick was groundbreaking. On F1, we've pushed it even further. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You know, the cast is incredible. My heart was racing. The F1 movie is as authentic a racing movie has ever been.
Well, it's start.
3. Safety car. 2. Okay. 1.
Action.
Action.
We've had unprecedented access to the tracks.
We might have to just move in. This is better than my garage.
Getting footage for this story.
And pan.
Awesome. The energy.
Did you see that? So this is a part of what I'm gonna talk about after I finish this video, but this little bit right here, this is really giving you a sample.
Pan.
It's awesome. The energy of the crowd, all the F1 drivers, the cars. It's going to help give this film that kind of grounded quality that we're looking for.
I'm done!
It's always better to overachieve than underachieve. And boy, did we overachieve.
We've accomplished something that hasn't been done before.
F1 is unlike anything we've ever filmed. It's incredible. Whether you're a fan or not, we'll show the world why it is the pinnacle of motorsports.
Formula One, if you win, you are the absolute best in the world.
All right. Okay, so there's a lot of really cool things. Now, you might say like, okay, I'm not a big nerd about all of the camera tech in movies. I just want to see something really good. I want to see a fun story. If you stick with me, I'm going to try to break it down in a very easy to understand way that will probably give you a higher appreciation for what's going on here. Because on the surface, it just looks like they're filming an interesting racing film. They strapped a couple GoPros, you know, onto the Formula One cars and they're getting some interesting dynamic shots. It's like, whatever. I put a GoPro on my bike and, you know, rode down a path in the woods. Like, I can do that. There's a lot more details to it, and I'm gonna try to help you understand because this is a complex issue. So first things first, the cameras that were used for the dynamic shots on the Formula One and inside of the vehicles and next to the actors' faces while they're really driving has to qualify in order to meet certain expectations for theatrical releases, specifically IMAX. And this is actually the director, I believe, as well as the cinematographer. These are the people that did Top Gun Maverick. And we know that they did some unprecedented work getting the cameras, the IMAX cameras, IMAX, you know, specified, IMAX approved cameras into like the cockpit of an airplane, so everything's authentic. They don't have to shoot in a studio on green screen. Everything's very authentic and real. So that's like an element of realism that just shows a lot of fan respect, but these cameras, these are a lot more than just GoPros. These are actually cameras that aren't on the market. Like, this is customized cameras for this movie. And these are Sony cameras, as obviously you can see here. And what's really cool about these is that these are Sony 6K, I guess, compact Venice models. So if you don't know, IMAX is the format for big IMAX theaters. Everyone's aware of this, but do you really understand? I'll share with you. Basically, when you shoot something for IMAX or you shoot something on IMAX, it is a certain format. It is a certain size in which all the information is being brought into the image through the camera, right? And when you have to make an IMAX image, something that's shot for IMAX, onto a standard theater screen, you have to crop off the top and the bottom. So as you can see, here's the example from Top Gun Maverick. The IMAX, you get a larger frame, whereas the standard, you have a cropped version. Now, I know we're always cropping images because of social media, because of online video, because of streaming. But if you think about it from just the large format theater experience, it starts to make a lot of sense. When you're watching something on the big screen at a theater, are you going to watch the full version that was shot to be intended to be seen that way, or are you watching a cropped version of it? So less information, if you will, in the image itself. But with that, IMAX, in order to be approved to fit and to work with their screens well, it has to be a certain format. So Sony only had one camera that was approved to shoot for IMAX, and that is the Sony Venice. But now they have these compact versions that they are able to still get the quality that's needed for the IMAX cameras, but attached to the body of the car, so they can almost use them like you would a GoPro, but it's much more interesting. It gives you a lot more better images. Now, what do I mean by better exactly? At the top of this video, we have this example where this is literally a shot that's obviously being done on these compact Sony 6K cameras. And what's really cool about this is the fact that it is such high quality, and because it's Sony, it's using an XAVCI format, file format, right? So how does this differ between just using a GoPro, right? For the common person who doesn't quite understand sizing. Like, why can't you just crop the sides to maybe make it a little bit longer or whatever? It really comes down to information in the image. So as you can see here, this is just to illustrate my point. When a camera is recording light, shooting into the camera onto the sensor and creating a digital copy of that split moment, that frame, the amount of information that's in the image really gets amplified when you zoom in or you see it in a large format. So in order to see something on a big screen, it needs to have a lot of information, which means the device, the sensor that captures that information, also needs to be fairly larger. The full frame is kind of roughly the size of the full frame CMOS sensor that these Sony cameras use. But like the latest GoPro actually uses a size smaller than the smallest example you see here. They use one that's a 1/1.9 CMOS sensor on the new GoPro Hero 13. So the sensor size is actually a lot smaller. It's the same thing like with phones. Our phones have very small sensors similar to GoPros because they're fitting a small sensor inside of a very compact device. To say that these cameras are going to be approved for IMAX, that means it has to have that large sensor inside a compact body that gives you the quality images that we're talking about here, right? It's a lot more than just a GoPro shot, and you need images of this quality with all of this information, because if you bring it into the editing and it has to be able to record to create a certain file type like the XAVCIs, right? If you start to make touch-ups with color, like in the color grade, it can start to fall apart because bitrate is off, the file format doesn't work for it, you weren't able to shoot in log because the sensor itself isn't able to capture log footage, whereas the Sony Venice full frame 6K CMOS sensor can. And I'm sorry if I'm getting in the weeds for the common person. Basically, the bigger the better when it comes to making an IMAX film, when it comes to sensor sizes. And before this, we haven't had the ability to be able to strap a GoPro sized CMOS sensor, full frame sensor, onto a car from multiple angles and get a variety of shots. What makes this even more interesting is this. See, watch right there. Okay. So basically, these cameras are not just like attached to the body and staying in one place. They're actually being controlled. So right here, you see this, the shot right here. He has a knob that's controlling the panning of these cameras that's mounted to the body. So not only are we getting high dynamic images, but we're gonna be able to pan from a close-up on the car that Brad Pitt is driving to what's happening right behind him in a shot like this. You know, it's very dynamic shots while being attached to the vehicle itself, the F1 race car. This is literally something that hasn't been done before. And it's kind of like, how has this not been done before? Well, it hasn't. It's really it. I mean, the idea of action cams has been around for well over a decade, but this idea that IMAX Hollywood grade quality cameras that have been customized by Sony for this film. These are compact versions of their Sony Venice camera. To be used on a film like F1, it's truly incredible. Now, I want you to tell me in the comments, does this interest you at all? Is this fascinating to you? This is a huge move because you're gonna start seeing movies like this pop up, especially in the action genre or like the action thrilling genre, kind of like F1's going to be, where you're gonna see a lot more action cam style shots in IMAX movies because Sony has now created a camera that's approved for IMAX on that scale, that's still shooting on a large sensor, but is small enough to be able to be placed on a vehicle and shot in this manner. And for me, it makes me want to actually go and watch this in IMAX for sure, because if I don't, then I feel like I'm gonna be missing out on something that's brand new. And it's an experience I don't wanna just sit in my living room and watch on streaming. I wanna see this camera and this sensor at work on a format the size of IMAX.